Hey guys, Dan here with this week's TV news and reviews. We've got 6 shows for you. Netflix keeps cranking them out. They have, a backlog of so many things that have been filmed long before the quarantine started. So half of our lineup comes from Netflix today. We've got 3 shows, and they're all currently in Netflix's top 10. So they're all really hot shows right now. And then we have one from HBO called Run, which is Phoebe Waller-Bridge's first project post Fleabag. She's one of the producers on it, and I think maybe one of the creators. I'll have to look. So that is exciting. Then we've also got a show on Epix called Belgravia, which comes from ITV in London, and that is the first project post Downton Abbey for that show's creator and writer. So 2 high-profile projects from people, and then also we have a show with a great pedigree of actors and actresses, including Cate Blanchett and Rose Byrne, and that is Mrs. America, and that's over on Hulu via FX. So a lot of interesting shows to get to, but first, 2 things in the news. First up is Party of 5 canceled at Freeform. This was the reboot Party of 5. Of course, it was canceled 20 years ago the first time, or something like that, but now we have it on Freeform. We got 10 episodes of it for 1 season, and it is gone. Kind of makes sense once I sort of looked into what was going on with that. Essentially, it's a product they don't own. ABC is owned by Disney, Freeform is owned by ABC. Party of 5 is, I believe, a Paramount property, and so they have to pay for the rights to air the show anyway and to do the show. So just economically, the ratings weren't there for it. It was holding about 250,000 viewers on the same day, or the live day airing, and then of course those numbers always go up with on-demand and stuff within the next 3 to 7 days. But yeah, it just wasn't enough for Freeform to decide to continue. But I liked the show. I mean, I gave it like a B or a B plus when I originally did it in, I think January is when it came on, January, February. So I may catch up at some point with this and just watch all 10 episodes and see kind of where they landed with things. It may have ended on a cliffhanger because, a lot of these shows do if they don't know that they're going into their one and only season, or if they don't know if they're going into their last season. A lot of times things are left on a cliffhanger. But even still, I did like the show, so it might be good to go back and see those 10 episodes that they produced. But the other news that I'm so pumped about, and I'm glad I decided to wait until evening to do my review show, because this news just dropped about 2 hours ago. Next week, next Thursday, April 30th, Parks and Rec is getting a reunion episode of sorts on NBC. Just announced. I'm so excited for this. It's going to be at 8:30, April 30th, and it's going to be a quarantine-type episode. We're going to take our characters into the current day. And what I think is interesting is I'm trying to remember what year Parks and Rec went off the air, because the last season it jumped ahead a few years. I don't know if it got up to 2020 though, so maybe it doesn't need to be retconned or anything. But yeah, we're gonna get a current day episode, and I guess the plot is that Leslie Knope, Amy Poehler's character, is trying to stay connected with everybody during social distancing, and it's going to be a sort of like a donation type special as well for Feeding America and the COVID-19 response fund to that. But apparently everybody is going to be there. Amy Poehler, Rashida Jones, Aziz Ansari, Nick Offerman, Adam Scott, Rob Lowe, Jim O'Hare, Retta, Aubrey Plaza, and Chris Pratt, which, look, the guy is a mega superstar. You couldn't blame him if he opted out, but at the same time, this is the show that made him famous. This is the show that got him in the door at places like Guardians of the Galaxy and the Jurassic World franchise. So I'm glad that he recognizes that, and really, what else are these people doing right now? They all have to stay at home anyway. Not like he can be off shooting Jurassic World 3 at this point in time. So it makes sense that he'll be there too. But I'm really, really excited about that. And Amy Poehler too, she is one that is not forgotten her roots. You know, she comes from Upright Citizens Brigade, she comes from the world of improv, then of course to SNL, and she became famous certainly from SNL, but a lot of those very funny people from that show don't end up translating when they try to do a sitcom or try to do a movie career. And I'm so glad that Amy Poehler took off from there, because I always thought she was hilarious on SNL. Her movie careers her movie career, I should say, not plural, has not really taken off, I think, the way she would have wanted probably, but she's been in a few funny movies. I mean, I really enjoyed Sisters. I thought that was funny. Baby Mama was okay, little hit or miss. I think I have Baby Mama on the shelf, don't I? Yes, I sure do. Good old Baby Mama right there. Anytime there's something in the B's or C's, I can look right up, and there it is. Good old Baby Mama. Her and Tina Fey are just so great together. When they host the Golden Globes, it's wonderful. Parks and Rec, though, is a show that, as much as I love it, I've never gone through it completely more than once. Those last 2 seasons, I think I've only seen one time. And I've seen the first few seasons at least 2 or 3 times, and then just kind of scattered episodes here or there. I have seen all of the episodes, but when I went through 30 Rock again last year for probably the 3rd or 4th time, maybe all the way through, I was thinking that I should probably give Parks and Rec a rewatch as well. I think it deserves it. Yeah, I don't think I'll do it before Thursday of next week. Although, you know, I mean, you really could. There's 114 episodes, and they're only a half hour each. Most shorter, I guess, because of the no commercials. So other than the extended, like, supersized episodes NBC did, which was maybe like 1 or 2 a season, yeah, you could probably get through the whole episode or the whole series by watching maybe for 8 hours a day for a week. I don't know. It seems a little extreme, I know, but it is a great show. I'm not really going to go through it all before next week, but I'm very excited about this episode. I'm pumped to watch. That's going to be at 8:30. On Thursday, April 30th on NBC. So that should be fun. One more thing, I guess, speaking of social distancing episodes, SNL is coming back this weekend again. I just read this today as well, with another social distancing episode. They did the Tom Hanks, quote-unquote hosted one 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah, the 11th. And then they took a week off, and then this week they'll be back with a new one. Their season was cut 3 episodes short. And the one they were going to come back with, I was really excited for. It was going to be John Krasinski's first time hosting, and then one of my favorite pop groups, Dua Lipa, or I guess it's just one person, but Dua Lipa was going to be the musical guest for the second time. So I was very excited to see that episode, and then, of course, they ended up canceling the rest of the season. But now we're back. I thought, I never really gave the original social distancing episode from a couple weeks ago any kind of grade here, but I thought it was really enjoyable. I mean, look, not all the sketches worked for sure, but I think everybody was being super creative with what we have. I think the Tom Hanks monologue was hilarious from his house, and I think it was great they got him, since he's sort of the I think he even called it himself Patient Zero for celebrities getting COVID-19. So I liked that a lot. I'm excited to see what they'll have in store, for this coming weekend. I liked that Colin Jost and Michael Che did their weekend update thing from their house. I read a little bit of distaste online for the way that they had, like, the canned, not canned laughter, but they had, like, 4 or 5 people on a speakerphone laughing at the jokes. I don't know. I thought it felt a little homey. I liked it, and it was the week Michael Che's grandmother died from coronavirus. So I love that he was in good spirits, in general, but then he also sort of paid a nice tribute to his grandmother as well. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what they have in store for us. Very excited about that. But let's get to the reviews. Like I said, we have 6 this week. 3 of them come from the world of Netflix. So let's get those out of the way first. These are all in the current top 10 on Netflix. In fact, 2 of them are in the number 1 and 2 slots currently. So these are all shows that people are watching and talking about. So first up is BlackAF, and this is sort of a companion piece to Blackish and that whole universe, because it's created by Kenya Barris, just like that show was, and all of its, Mixed-ish and Grownish, all of the spin-offs. And he plays himself. He plays a hyper-realized version of Kenya Barris. And speaking of Rashida Jones from Parks and Rec, she plays his wife in this. And then they have a bunch of kids, I think 5 kids. BlackAF is essentially based sort of on Kenya Barris's life. So the same type of family life is happening here in BlackAF, except it's, you know, dirtier because it's Netflix, so there's a lot of cursing, and it's, you know, hyper realized version of him, so it's not nearly as grounded as BlackAF is. So here's the thing. I could honestly probably do a half-hour review just on BlackAF. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and keep it to 10 minutes or less like I always do. But here's the thing. I like BlackAF a lot. Now, I think in the last couple of years, it's veered more towards the to the preachy than it has to the comedy. Like, there's always been messages in BlackAF, and it's always been sort of a little bit of a history lesson of sorts with the characters, and but it's just veered more into the last couple of years of, like, watching it is sort of like, sometimes it's funny, but it's like, yeah, I get it, I'm white, I suck, you know, I'm the reason that everything, you know, happens bad to black people. It's like, that's how it makes me feel, you know. And I'm supportive of the show. I like the show, and I still watch it. But the last couple of years, it's been more in that direction. Now, Mixed-ish, like most of the shows from the fall, I've only seen the first episode, so I could review it here on the show. I haven't really gone through the whole season yet, but I liked what I saw there. And Grownish, I still watch. I'm in season 2 of that. I think it's airing season 4 maybe right now on Freeform, but or maybe season 3. I think season 4 though. But either way, I'm in season 2 of Grownish, which I really enjoy. I think it's a great, you know, it really depicts college very well, I think. And it sort of straddles that same kind of line like A Different World did. There are definitely messages to be had in Grownish. And, you know, there again, that came out of another successful African-American sitcom, The Cosby Show. But, you know, obviously in 2020, you can get away with a lot more than you could in the late 80s. And that was on a network. This is on cable, etc., etc. But anyway, and see, this is why I could talk about this show for a half hour, because, you know, I'm a fan of the whole Blackish universe, pretty much. But this is maybe the most frustrating show I've had to review in quite a while. So let's get to why real quick. Basically, the plot of the show, if you want to call it that, you know, is, like I said, he's a fictionalized version of himself and his family and his richness, and, you know, he is himself. He created Blackish in this universe as well, so he's running into other, you know, TV people, you know, Stephen Levitan, who created Just Shoot Me and Wings and that kind of thing. And they do the whole, like, interview with the family member type thing, like you see on The Office or Modern Family or Parks and Rec. But here they do it under the guise of the eldest daughter, Drea, is doing a project and wants to be a filmmaker. So she wants to have this sort of, you know, portrait of her family to put in her portfolio and edit it together and all that sort of stuff. So that's, you know, so the interviewing stuff makes sense here, at least. So I like that. And honestly, it's a trope that once it stopped working, like the Michael J. Fox show did it, and it didn't work. It didn't really make a lot of sense. It doesn't really make a lot of sense on Modern Family either, but you just go with it. But it's been a while since a new show has really attempted that, so I liked that. I loved Rashida Jones in this. I normally like her. I don't like the show she did for TBS about the police. I forget what that was called. It was like a spoof on cop shows. Didn't like that, but, you know, I loved her in Parks and Rec, and even though Karen is supposed to not really be that likable a character on The Office because you're rooting for Jim and Pam, I always liked her on The Office too, and so I like her here as Joya, but there's so many issues I have with this. First of all, it's way too, like, break the fourth wall and talk about how all of Kenya Barris' shows are basically the same. You know, the daughter says, like, oh, my dad's a one-trick pony, this and that and the other thing. but while at the same time, this is essentially Blackish. Like, yeah, it's like the Kevin Smith movie Jay and Silent Bob reboot that just came out last year. Like, it was funny for a little bit to see him poking fun at himself and some of the old movies and stuff, but it just went way too far with it, and I find that to be the case here too. It's way too wink wink nod nod, like, oh, we're in on the joke, like, we get it too, you know, Kenya Bear is a one-trick pony, ha ha ha. But when you base Blackish on you and your family in many aspects, and then you do another show where you're playing yourself and your family, it's basically Blackish retread, but amped up, more cursing, because it's Netflix, a lot more cursing. And also, the guy comes across as kind of a D. Like, he's not a likable character. And look, we've seen this a lot with, like, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David isn't really a likable character, but you also get behind him because he's having everyday type problems. Here, you know, the problems are the white people don't understand him, and it's very, like, the first episode ends with him literally saying, quote, I effing hate white people. Now look, I'm not a, like, person that gets heavily, like, offended, and I wasn't offended by it necessarily, because I get it, it's sort of tongue-in-cheek and whatever, but it's pushed in my face just enough on Blackish where it's like, okay, I get it, the white people at Anthony Anderson's office are, you know, real nerds, and, you know, I got it, it's fine, but when you literally just say at the end of your episode, I effing hate white people, you know, look, maybe the show isn't for me, maybe you don't even want me to watch the show, but just imagine for a second if a white show said that about anybody else, you know, oh, I effing hate Asian people, you know, like, or something like that. So it's not funny, it's way too in your face, it's way too wink wink, oh, haha, we get it, like, we're being over the top, ironic, you know, we get that this is the same show as Blackish, just amped up, okay, but then make a better show, like, have a better idea. Also, there was, like, a side plot about a chain, Kenya Barris's chain, and Blackish did an episode about a chain just a couple of years ago. So not only is the basic premise a retread, but they're even stealing ideas just in the first episode. In addition to that, a lot of the kids can't act. A couple of them can. The younger ones can't, and the kids on Blackish are all amazing actors and actresses. They're all so funny. And, you know, I do like the dynamic between him and Rashida Jones. He's a better actor than I would have thought, just because he's a writer and a creator, and he's not really an actor. So he did a better job than I thought he would do here. And, you know, look, Rashida Jones is always great. The oldest daughter is good, but it's funny, they have her doing voiceovers because, you know, it's her film project or whatever, but they have the eldest daughter in Grownish doing the voiceovers there, and vocally and tonally they sound pretty close, which makes sense if Blackish is based on his life, that he would hire an actress that looks and sounds like his daughter does. No, it's not his real daughter in BlackAF, but he obviously found two actresses that they don't look anything alike, but when she does the voiceovers, it's just like, oh, that really sounds like, you know, Yahira Shahardi or something. I forget how you pronounce her name, but from Grownish. And so I think this is just all kind of a retread. It's not nearly as funny as it thinks it is. Most of the characters here are very unlikable. And, you know, Blackish is a show for everybody. Like, I feel like, you know, nobody's excluded from Blackish. Yes, they poke fun at white people too much, sure. You know, maybe not too much, but they poke fun at white people, you know, a decent amount. But this is just like, it's as if they're basically saying, we don't want you to watch our show. And if that's the case, okay, fine. I mean, I guess they win, because I have no interest in watching any more episodes of this. I would much, much rather watch the rest of the season of Mixed-ish, you know, and see where that went after the pilot episode. But this was a real mixed bag for me, because there were some elements I truly did like, and I laughed a few times. I can't deny that either. But it's just all been there, done that, and much better on Blackish, for sure. So I leave BlackAF with a C-. So up next, we stay with Netflix. We're going to do those for the first 3 shows here. Too Hot to Handle. Oh my God, this is the new reality dating show on Netflix. They had such success with Love Is Blind that they have a new one now, and it's called Too Hot to Handle. It takes place somewhere, some great island, I guess. I don't know. There's people from all over the world in it, though. There's a gal from Florida. There's a guy from Australia. There's people from the UK. So there's people from all over. Does it say where it takes place? I don't know. But they're on some kind of island villa, and they're trying to get $100,000. Nobody really knows about the prize money because they're all very shocked about the whole thing. But the clincher on this, and we don't really learn this, well, we as the audience know it, but the people on the island don't know it until the end of the first episode. The money dwindles down anytime there's any kind of physical contact, even kissing, hugging. These are all people that they've chosen specifically because they, A, are real hot, but B, are chronic swipers, they're called. On this show. So, they go on Tinder, they go on, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's Grindr, but, that's for gay people. There's no gays on this show, so I don't know. Other than Tinder, I don't know what else there is, but Bumble, maybe. Anyway, whatever. But they are swipers, they are hookup people, they love getting it on, and so they've all been chosen for that purpose, and they have about 12 hours to mingle before the deed is set, and they say, okay, $100,000 is on the line, but you lose money every time there's some physical interaction. And that includes with yourself. So you can't even self-pleasure for 30 days. So look, I'm a hookup guy when I'm not in a relationship. And, during the quarantine, yeah, I mean, it's been about a month and a half, for me, for sure. TMI, I know. But these guys are acting like this is the end of the world, like, oh my God, like, I could never do that, da-da-da-da-da. And according to the coming attractions for some of the other episodes, they're correct. So how much the money dwindles down, I don't know. But Netflix has really captured this interesting moment that we're in right now with the quarantine, because it's like, Love Is Blind, I felt the same thing. It's like, you have this show where people can't really get to know each other with physical interaction, so you need to talk to them, and you need to, do this and that. And here, in the real world, we can't really go out and hook up with people. I mean, we could, but it's stupid to do that, and please don't, because we're all under the quarantine. But here on this island, there's money on the line to not do it, and so it's interesting that they dropped this show right now at this moment in time. It was probably supposed to come out now anyway, but it's just very interesting that those are the parameters and we're all in quarantine watching it, but the people, look, these dating shows are horrible. I don't really watch them. Like Love Is Blind, I didn't hate. I thought it was an interesting experiment. I thought Nick and Vanessa Lachey were good hosts, but I'll never watch it again, but I probably gave it like a B or a B-. I thought it was okay. I thought it was an interesting experiment. Same with the flirty, what was it called? Flirty Dancing. That was an okay show. I'll probably never watch it again, but I gave it about that sort of same like B- type grade. It's okay. But here, they have gathered like the worst of the worst people, and they all make them look so stupid in editing, like the one girl from Florida, she's a blonde cheerleader, and she's just like, oh, I'm so excited there's somebody from Australia here, because I don't even know where that is, is that another country, like they take the dumbest sound bites, and of course you do that, but also, the voiceover person is super annoying. She makes these stupid, like, puns and jokes when they introduce new people, and you're just like, oh, shut up, just show me the people already, Love Is Blind, you didn't have any of that. So this is a worst of the worst type dating show. If you like trashy TV, maybe this is for you, because I don't like that kind of stuff. I hate trashy reality. I hate the Kardashians. I hate all of that lowest common denominator people type stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't necessarily like to laugh at people when I'm watching a show, you know? And with a romance show, I want to root for people. And here, you could maybe root for a couple of people. There's a couple of people that are like, they seem nice enough, but they're all just like so stupid, and you know, they're set up to look that way, so it's edited in that way. I'm sure a lot of them are very nice in the real world, but this is trashy TV pretty much at its worst. If you are into that, maybe you'll enjoy this. Maybe you will get something out of it. Maybe it will be a nice distraction to your quarantine. I don't know. For me, I would, you know, there's 500 shows I would rather watch than another episode of Too Hot to Handle. So I give this one a D. It is not for me. So up next we have Outer Banks, and this is the last one we're going to talk about from Netflix. This is currently the number 2 show on Netflix after Too Hot to Handle. And this is basically a teen drama, murder mystery, I guess, type show. They're in the Outer Banks, which, by the way, just as an aside, I had a trip with my family planned to the Outer Banks in July, and we're not going now, of course, because of the quarantine. I have never been to the Outer Banks, so when I saw there was a show called Outer Banks that takes place there, I was like, ugh, now I get to see all the beautiful scenery that I'm going to be missing. But anyway, I didn't let that cloud my judgment at all of the show. But anyway, there's these different groups that they describe to us in the intro. Pogues are the more like poor people, and then Kooks are the more wealthier clan of people in the Outer Banks. And so we've got this this group of ragtag youth who are, I don't know how old they're supposed to be, probably about college age, but as is usually the case, I mean, they look like they're 25 or whatever, but they're probably supposed to be college age, maybe even like seniors in high school. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Maybe they say it somewhere in the first episode and I just missed it. But you've got all these people with, you know, fun names like Chase Stokes and, you know, Key and Pope, you know, whatever. So, oh, I'm sorry. Chase Stokes is the actor's name. Wow. That's bad, too. He plays John B. on the show, but that's actually, the actor's name is Chase Stokes. Jesus. All right, so anyway, in the first episode, they find an old fishing boat that is sunken, and they discover that it may have treasure on it, that may have something to do with John B.'s father. And, okay, he's basically kind of like an orphan. He's living on his own. You know what? They must be in high school, because the social worker comes in and says that he might get put into the system. You wouldn't say that if he was over 18. So these characters, I guess, are all 17 or something. I don't know. But here's the thing. This show actually was a lot of fun. I know my ramp up to it is sort of, you know, a lot of eye rolling and such. But look, I watched the original 90210 when that was on. Loved it. I didn't really get into the OC. I was real busy with work at that time, and I had to kind of pick my shows carefully. And I watched maybe the first 3 episodes of the OC, and then just never got hooked from there. But that in itself kind of seemed like a 90210 retread. This is a retread of all of it. It's a teen soap. It would fit right in, you know, maybe 5 years ago on the CW when they had the 90210 reboot, and you know, sort of picks up where a lot of that stuff sort of leaves off. But here's the thing. Here's where they got me. It's actually a lot of fun, this show, and I love when there's a bunch of new people I don't know. You know, 90210 was that. Nobody ever heard of any of these people except Tori Spelling because of her dad. But, you know, here we have people I've never heard of, like good old Chase Stokes, for example. But even the adults are not people I really am familiar with. So it's really, you know, out from nowhere. And look, I like Riverdale, and Jughead is one of my favorite characters, but you know, I would have maybe liked it more if we didn't know so many of the people ahead of time. You know, Cole Sprouse plays Jughead, and Luke Perry, God rest his soul, was Archie's dad, and all of this. Skeet Ulrich was Jughead's dad. I kind of like that we don't know any of these people. They're all new, so you can kind of immerse yourself a little more. I like that this is appropriate for teen viewing. I think the worst word they drop is an S-bomb, which you can see on Freeform. So it's a little bit dirtier than a CW show, but it's still, in that range of like teen viewing. It doesn't go too far with any expletives or anything like that. And the central mystery is actually pretty engaging. I think is it 10 or 8 episodes of this total? And it's Netflix, so they're all up right now. There's 10 episodes of it. And they're each between 45 minutes and an hour. So yeah, I mean, this actually was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. The first scene was, I thought, very annoying. They were showing, basically it was a voiceover from John B. and basically telling you about all the people. And they actually did this in BlackAF too, where the daughter, but that at least made sense because the daughter was making a film to sort of narrow down everybody to 1 or 2 sentences. Oh, this is such and such, and she's the crazy one, and whatever. I would prefer to get to know these people on my own and form my own opinions about them. It seemed that was one of the big negatives for this show for me, was that I guess they didn't trust the audience to come to their own conclusions on these people, or maybe just bad writing. They didn't know how to write them as such. So that was a big negative for me. But other than that, I actually got kind of into this show. It's definitely the kind of show I would have loved as a teenager. When 90210, the original, came out, I was, I think, 13, maybe 12. So it was like I was right in that, like, about to enter high school type wheelhouse. So I think if you're a teenager, you're going to love this show. But I liked it too. I mean, I thought it was really engaging. I liked the mystery aspect. One other negative is it is very soapy, in the sense that, like, even down to the fight on the beach on the first day. Well, okay, the OC definitely did that. Like, that was all the promos. Welcome to the OC, bitch, was the whole bit. So, I take it down another point for that, I guess, too. So maybe it's not the most clever show. Maybe it's not shot all that well. And maybe it could be written better. But I think the actors are, for the most part, fairly decent. I'm not sure that the characters yet are super likable. But it seems that if they're not, it may be more because of their circumstances. So, you can kind of give characters a pass for that sometimes. But I liked this a lot more than I thought I was going to. I leave Outer Banks with a B. Alright, so let's move on here. Let's go to HBO for Phoebe Waller-Bridge's new show called Run. She is one of the executive producers on this show. Doesn't look like she created it. Vicky Jones created it, but she has, a big partnership with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And in fact, she helped the stage production of Fleabag, which became the show. So, it's got the Waller-Bridge stamp of approval on it, regardless. But the basic premise is it's Merritt Wever, who I loved in what was that show called on Netflix? Unbelievable. I knew it wasn't Undone. That was the Amazon one. But, yeah, Unbelievable. She was great in that. So she plays Ruby Richardson here. And then Domhnall Gleeson is the male lead, playing Billy Johnson. And I guess in future episodes, Phoebe Waller-Bridge has a recurring role. She was not in the pilot. But basically, it's these two... we don't necessarily know yet what they are, if they were lovers or just friends or whatever. But 17 years ago, they made a pact that if any of them ever texted the other one, run, in all capital letters, and the other one texts it back, then they will skedaddle, get the hell out of Dodge, drop their lives, and basically run away together, meet at Grand Central Station, and travel the states together, leaving everything behind. So that happens in the first scene, and we as the audience don't quite know why yet. And I'm not sure if the pilot gives us a full description of that or not. I mean, I knew it going into it because I read just the 2-line, bio of the series or whatever, the synopsis. So I think we'll probably delve a little more into their history as we move forward. But she's married in this show, and she's basically, about to do, I guess, a yoga class or something, and she gets, you know, cut off in the parking lot and can't get out of her car because somebody's right there, and she's just like, you know what, F it, like, yes, run, let's go. And so the last 2/3, I guess, of the episode, or maybe just the last half, is them on a train, and then it's more, you know, dialogue heavy. We're getting to know these people a little more and what they expect to get out of this and what the deal is, and he admits that he wrote her run when he was super drunk and wasn't even really thinking. But then in a coming attraction to a future episode, we see, or we hear somebody on the phone with him saying, like, you can't tell her the real reason that you sent Run. So things will certainly unfold as we go along. But it's a weekly show, so there's only been 2 that have run so far. No pun intended on the word run. I just watched the pilot like I usually do. But I thought this was good. I mean, I'm not quite sure. It doesn't have the same punch as Fleabag, but you can tell that it's definitely from the same people, because it's got a lot of the same atmosphere, the same punchy dialogue, and the characters, I'm not going to say they're the same. It's not, you know, Blackish and BlackAF all over again. The characters are definitely different, but I also think we haven't really scratched the surface with who these characters are yet. So I'm intrigued by what comes next for these people. I like both of the actors. You know, Domhnall Gleeson and his father, I think it's his dad, or maybe his uncle, I think it's his dad, Brendan Gleeson, you know, can do almost no wrong. I mean, most of their movies are great. You know, I think they're very good actors. And the chemistry, not quite sure if it's there yet, but I think that these people haven't seen each other in 17 years either. So I think that's also purposeful, that maybe they don't have the best chemistry yet. Because they're both very competent actors, so I don't think it's that. And the writing is good. So I'm definitely intrigued where this series goes from here. I don't know how many episodes have been ordered. It's a half-hour show, though, so even if there's, you know, 10 episodes, it's not going to be a huge line to get through. Looks like there might only be 7 episodes, because it looks like the season finale might be at the end of May. So we'll see about it. I'm definitely intrigued right now. I think the concept is really cool. You know, the whole Run thing. I really like that. It's unique. I mean, people have pacts when they're kids and teenagers for, like, okay, if neither of us are married by 40, then we'll marry each other, whatever. But I have not quite heard of the Run pact. So I think it's an interesting concept. So this one gets a B+ from me. I'm very intrigued to see where it's going to go. So let's see. Up next, let's go to Mrs. America. This is on FX on Hulu, which means that it's under the FX brand, but they're not actually running it on TV. And sometimes the FX on Hulu stuff is on TV. Like Devs was on TV, and I think Dave, the Little Dicky comedy, I think airs on FX as well. But this one is directly on Hulu only, but under that FX banner. And in Hulu fashion, you know, sometimes they put all the episodes up, sometimes it's 1 a week. This one, they put 3 up at once, and then it's going to be 1 a week for the remainder. And there's going to be, I think, 10 episodes here. 9. Okay, this one ends at the end of May as well. So right now there's 4 up. A new one just went up last night. And then the remaining 5 are still to go. But essentially this is about the Equal Rights Amendment. It's very loosely, and they make that sort of clear in the very first screen that, like, you know, yes, these are all based on events, but, you know, characters have been added, you know, to kind of flesh the story out and this and that. So, which, look, I think when you're looking at a based on a true story type thing, I think that's expected at this point. I think it's more a rarity if you don't kind of add people to the mix. Like in Bombshell, you know, Margot Robbie's character never really existed. She's just a composite. So here we have probably a few of those as well. But it's about the Equal Rights Amendment and the people kind of behind it. So you've got Gloria Steinem, Phyllis Schlafly, Shirley Chisholm, and some other people, Betty Friedan. And this is a cast of amazing talent. Some of them we haven't even met yet. Elizabeth Banks' character we haven't met yet. She plays Jill Ruckelshaus. Haven't met her yet. Tracy Ullman, we just saw very briefly. Sarah Paulson, we saw very briefly. Niecy Nash is supposed to be in it. I don't think she was in the first episode. We see Rose Byrne, I think just for a second at the beginning, but she is second billed, so she must have a starring role coming up. In fact, the second episode is called Gloria, and she plays Gloria Steinem. So the first 3 episodes, 4 really, I guess, every episode is a character name. So I guess we learn about the person and how it weaves into the other people surrounding her. So we didn't really do much with Gloria Steinem yet, but that's in episode 2. So that's Rose Byrne. Uzo Aduba we see very briefly as Shirley Chisholm, who, by the way, dude, she is a talent. You know, you don't really realize it from Orange is the New Black because she's funny and she's like crazy. She plays Crazy Eyes on there. But if you see her in something else, it's like she looks nothing like Crazy Eyes. She acts nothing like Crazy Eyes. So not that I thought she really was that way, but she's got some range for sure. But leading up the whole charge is Cate Blanchett as Phyllis Schlafly, and you know, basically it's just taking us through the ERA movement in the 70s and Richard Nixon's involvement with it and stuff, and his cabinet. I don't think he actually has a part in here. Yeah, doesn't look like anybody's playing Richard Nixon, so it's just sort of his name's being bandied about. But this was great. I mean, this is, for me, one of the best shows of the year so far. When you get a cast like this, usually it's like, okay, and I say like this, I mean, these aren't all A-listers for sure. You know, Cate Blanchett is, the others, I don't know. But like Sarah Paulson, for example, she shows up and she does like Marcia Clark on the OJ movie or miniseries, you know, or she does, you know, this season of American Horror Story or whatever, you know, but these people that are chameleon actors. You know, Tracy Ullman as Betty Friedan. I love Tracy Ullman. You know, she's so funny, but she can also be very serious as well, and we've seen that a few times. But, you know, Rose Byrne, like I said, I haven't really seen her character in this yet, but she can do no wrong. Even in a terrible project, she's great. But usually when you get this many great actors or actresses attached to a project, it's going to be something special. And I think that is shown off here. The writing for this is so crisp. I was so interested in these characters. James Marsden also recurs, and he's in the first episode as this like conservative TV host, and he has Phyllis on his show. Let me see who created this, actually. Created by Davi Waller. Well, what do we know them from? Oh, Mad Men. Okay, well, that was popular. I never saw it, but everyone loves Mad Men. He was one of the co-producers on there in the 3rd and 4th season. He wrote some of the episodes. All right, so that's good. Halt and Catch Fire, again, never watched that, but I've heard very, very good things. So he's got a nice, capable hand at writing, I guess. And who are the producers here, too? Anybody I recognize? Nobody I really know. Stacey Shear. I mean, I maybe have heard that name, but I don't know her. Well, she's done a bunch of stuff. She was a producer on Hateful Eight, producer on Django, so she's worked, obviously, with Quentin Tarantino a bunch. Anyway, everything here works great. I mean, I am very excited to see the rest of these episodes and how they play out. And I sense that because each episode revolves around one woman mainly, that there may be too many stories going on, and we'll have to kind of see how they mesh together by the end. But judging by the first episode, I mean, this is clearly one of the best shows of the year. This will be one that is up for a ton of awards at the Emmys. Next year at the Golden Globes, like Cate Blanchett will be nominated, maybe some of the others, and it'll probably be nominated for Best Limited Series. I have no doubt about it. It's that kind of project. And when those live up to expectations, it's that much better. This was just fantastic. It's an A for Mrs. America. All right, I've been trying to keep these videos under 40 or 45 minutes, so we're almost to that mark here, the 45-minute mark. So let's do Belgravia pretty quickly. You know, most of these shows I could really talk a blue streak about, but this one I saved for last because I think it's the easiest one to talk about. It's on Epix television, or if you have BritBox, the app, it's on ITV originally from there, so I'm sure you can get it on that. But basically, it's in the 1800s, 1815 to be specific. It's at the Duchess of Richmond is sort of one of the main people here, and I guess it's based on a true story. I don't know. Belgravia is a very like rich part of London, so I assume these are all real people or close to it. But this is from the guy who did Downton Abbey. So, Downton Abbey wasn't real people. So maybe none of these are real people. Maybe this is just sort of, we created all of this from scratch like we did Downton Abbey. I don't know. But here's my 2 cents essentially on this. And I didn't really recognize a lot of the people. Alice Eve is in it. Although I don't think she was in the first episode because I don't remember seeing her. But Harriet Walter, who I've seen in a bunch of things, she was in Downton Abbey for a little bit, but she's also been in The Crown, and she's been in Atonement and Sense and Sensibility, and she's done a lot of work. So I recognize her a little bit. And then Tasman Grieg was in episodes with Matt LeBlanc. She was like one of the stars of that, so I recognize her. But for the most part, I didn't recognize a lot of these people. This is a very basic show. I don't get into the British historical period pieces unless there's something compelling about them specifically. Like, I really liked Emma. I loved that movie, The Favourite, that came out a couple years ago about the Queen with Olivia Colman and Emma Stone. That was great. So it's not a blanket statement that I hate all of that stuff, but I found Downton Abbey very boring. I tried to watch it a couple of different times, was bored. The movie I thought was okay, and I loved the way they sort of brought people in that aren't familiar with Downton Abbey. Like, I wasn't lost at all during the show, but or during the movie, but it was a bit boring, and here, it's just a lot of the same. It's like, it takes every single thing that people typically like about these British historical pieces, and it just throws it all in a blender together. The characterizations are all pretty by the numbers. The set pieces are okay. The swelling music, always happens. If something's being said, it's again, a bit slow moving. I mean, this is not my kind of show anyway, so I'm trying to grade it on the other things about it, like originality and like set design and the acting. The acting is okay. The couple women I mentioned are good, as usual. And actually, most of the females are good here. The men, they're a bit stock, but I don't think their characters are as well written as the women anyway, so I don't know if I blame that on the acting or the writing. Look, if you are missing Downton Abbey and you want a fix of some soapy British television, then this may do the trick for you. It is very soapy, a lot more than I feel like Downton Abbey was, but I don't know. I mean, I guess the things I know about Downton Abbey, I guess that was pretty soapy too, but this just takes basically all of the tropes and throws them together, hoping that you'll be like, oh, I missed Downton Abbey, let's see what this show is. Maybe you'll love it because of that. I don't know. In quarantine, we watch some things that maybe normally we wouldn't. I'll never watch another episode of this, I know that. But because of its just very generic nature and just sort of competent everything. Like, nothing's great, nothing's necessarily horrible, but everything's just fine and competent. So I will leave Belgravia with a C+. It's certainly not for me, but if you like the British stuff and you're missing Downton, it's from the writer and creator of Downton, so maybe you will love this. It'll be your new favorite thing. For me, no. I'll never watch another episode. Very generic. So, alright, that's going to do it. Like I said, ran a little over time, but I kind of knew I would because I had a lot to say about these shows this week. So let's just cut it there. But thank you so much for watching. I have a Frasier Friday on tap for tomorrow. We did a Zoom cast with Joe, so we have that. And then Tim and I did a Dan Does Disney yesterday for the Three Caballeros. So we talk about that movie and as well the companion piece cartoon series currently running on Disney+. So that will be up, I don't know, probably Sunday or Monday. because then Saturday I'll do my normal weekly movie reviews. But yes, those are all on deck. I love the ability to do the Zoom casts, so every day isn't just me talking to you for 45 minutes. We get some variety in there with my guests. So yeah, but thank you so much for watching. Please comment below, let me know your thoughts on any of these shows, and be safe. Bye.